All right, here we go. This is that's how I describe the last season. I'm not gonna lie to you. I kind of take my content in ways of kind of doing some film, doing some cool shots, kind of just taking it in different directions. And one thing that's big in my life are shows and movies and stuff like that. And I have the best takes, right? Like, no, I don't think. I mean, I'm this isn't scripted or anything, but I don't think I've had a bad take yet. All my takes are about right, correct, and are the best. But I've always kind of driven myself away from making videos talking about whatever because everyone does it and I kind of want to switch up. But dude, you know what? It's time. It's time to reveal the Krabby Patty formula to you people. All right, it's time for you guys to see what this brain's cooking up here. All right, and today's topic, all right, The Boys. So as a quick background, I'm a huge fan of The Boys. I think it's a great show. I've always loved the show. I had a lot of expectations going into this final season, but you know, the best way to describe it really is, I mean, honestly, underwhelming. Here's a better way. A great way to describe this season is, it feels like the writing team knew exactly specific scenes, what they wanted to do, what the people would have liked, what would have worked for these characters, and they knew like exactly how to execute it. But then leading up to the scenes, it felt like they had no idea what to do. Like they were just playing with action figures, and then once it was finally to the moment, they're like, all right, let's lock it in here. To get into some spoiler territory, all right, the final episode, wow, I mean, like, let's give some props, all right? So Homelander, once he loses he just gets chest blasted from Kimiko, and he loses his abilities, and he becomes just regular, I guess. Once this happens, it's executed, like, damn near perfectly. Like, I don't really have any notes. I think it was really good. Seeing him whimper, it was like the finale that's exactly perfect for his character on how to wrap it up. Having Butcher not even hesitate, not listening to him, just looking down on him, being the monster of this, you know, like it's peak cinema. Leading that into the Huey and Butcher final fight is exactly what the show, everything has been leading to. I mean, having Butcher be the final villain is something that I think a lot of people saw coming, and I think they delivered perfectly on that. But these scenes, man, leading into these scenes, it feels so weightless because I don't care as much. Like, these characters I've grown so fond with, and the whole Butcher story itself is so amazing that by the time he's fighting Homelander with Ryan and they name drop Becca and do all the stuff, it feels so just washed. It feels so grayed out. I don't feel the emotion in it. The different talks that Butcher had with Homelander about the Becca situation and scorched earth, all of that, like, perfect. Like that, the writing behind that and everything, you feel the emotion that by the time the final battle hits, it's like, all right, here's Ryan helping out. Okay, cool. Oh, Homelander's weak as hell now. He can't even do anything. When they showed up to the White House and Kimiko just kind of walked in, I was like, is this really the plan? Like, why doesn't Homelander go out there and just snap Kimiko's head, go at it? All of a sudden, Butcher's strong enough to go toe-to-toe with Homelander, which he has not shown feats like that at all this season, to be honest with you. Even leading up to it, I thought it was pretty funny that the boys, it's like they kind of have that sweet moment where Butcher's like, how about it, you blokes? How about we give it one last go? Yeah, we give it one last go, and then we and then they build this whole plan, get into the White House, and they're literally outsmarted, which was also pretty lame because, like, the best part about this show is the fact that, like, the boys being just human, having their skills in these different mediums and putting it together in a group of people with no abilities and standing up to the Avengers, you know what I mean? Like, it's a cool concept of how they can do it, and the way they've executed that idea has been damn near perfect. Like, it's really cool how they've come up with these different plans and how they've always been one step ahead. But in this, like, straight up, they get just booty licked. I mean, like, outsmarted, and then they get into this place, they get closed off, they have these alarms going off, and they decide, all right, we're gonna have one guy up there with a machine gun just shoot down on them, which was crazy to me because this actor, you don't really get to see the actor, but he must have been a stormtrooper because he misses everything, and also I don't really know what their plan was. If they knew that Butcher and all of them were coming, at this point, don't even give me that crap of underestimating. All right, they just didn't think they were much of a threat. All right, we're 5 seasons deep in this thing. Butcher is a threat, all right? The boys are a threat, all right? There's no point to just pretend that they're not, all right? The fact that they got him in this secure spot and outsmarted the boys and got them all stuck here, and then they give one guy with a machine gun up top, and that was pretty much it. Like, why didn't Homelander just go over there and wipe them all out in that moment? Because, hey, he was live streaming it anyways. Might as well set an example to the world. But that being said, if he just showed up right there, he'd probably get his ass whooped anyways, because I don't know why he's so weak all of a sudden in that last fight. Realistically, what should have happened, it should have been an all-out war with them going to the White House, and the fact that he was broadcasting it to the world. Queen Maeve, I'm looking at you, Shawty. What's going on? This should have been like everyone who has ever stood against Homelander should have been here fighting, and it should have been a bloodbath. It should have been everyone giving their lives and Homelander just ripping through people, leading into the final thing with Ryan and Butcher and giving us whatever. We get this scene in the final episode where the Holy Father guy is talking about, hey, like, this is the most rich person in the world. Like, he would be a great influence, because the main thing throughout all these 4 seasons is the idea of manipulating the media and who can win the public's opinion, right? And at this point, Homelander's over it, and he just grabs the billionaire and flies up to space and kills him, because he's like, I don't care anymore. That should have been the opening scene to the season. We've already built up, I don't know why they've abandoned so many storylines. In season 4, when Homelander goes back, and he goes back to where he was raised and tortured, and he massacres all those people, that was his breaking point. That should have been the signifying moment where Homelander broke and he no longer cares about people's opinions and he is God. But instead, they redo that arc again, but then incorporate V1 explaining how, well, all right, now that he's immortal, now he doesn't care and he's all scorched earth. But even then, he still doesn't go out wiping people. I mean, there's that clip of him literally explaining what he would do.
Let's light this candle, huh? I mean, sure, I'll lose everything, but then I'll have nothing to lose. First, I'll take out the nerve centers. The White House, the Pentagon. Then any domestic defense capabilities, and then critical infrastructure, like cellular, internet, that kind of thing. And then, well, I think then, I'll just wipe New York off the fucking map.
And he doesn't do any of that. All right, he kills like one guy. like what? It's also pretty crazy that the final battle here is just like in this small. I mean, I know it's like the White House, the Oval Office, and it's supposed to be this big thing, but it's like this in this tiny office. It's so hard to do this fight. I know one of the big things with the director is how he's talking about how they don't have the funding as other shows do, and they can't do kind of these big action sequences that they want to do. But even then, it's like, why even promote the fact that he's going to wipe out all of Earth and start destroying all these cities and the White House and all of this, and then the final fight barely destroys a room, and they're just so weak, dude. I've kind of blabbered too much about the final fight. I didn't mean to go on that long about it. I think everyone has pretty similar opinions on it. I just passionate about it. One thing I really wanted to touch on is the idea of like where the show will always shine and what it's grounded in is the idea of putting real world situations with superheroes, right? I mean, I know people aren't a huge fan of the whole political satire and all that, but let's be real, that's what the show's always been about. Grow up, baby boy. But even beyond kind of the political scene or any agendas or whatnot, like the idea of superheroes in the real world and the media's play into it, or what happens when a superhuman is a heroin addict or a misogynist or a racist, right? Like all this would happen if we had superheroes in our world. And those are like in my head, the most like ingrained scenes because it's so fascinating to watch these characters and how it unwinds and it feels so real. So by the time the final season hits, they've kind of dropped the ball on all of those kind of topics and all that, because the whole idea is now it's Armageddon, it's Homelander versus, which by the way isn't even a bad thing. I think that's the only route here. I think you've explored all of these different things. You've explored them trying to keep the public eye, and you've explored the different medias and film and drugs, and you've explored these different baseline street level stuff. Now we're to a point where Homelander has lost his shit. He is on a god mentality. In the first episode, he should have had that and just wiped out everything. It should be as simple as that. And I think that's the only route that this final season should have gone. And it should be an Armageddon. It should be one side versus the other. Go at it. Red versus blue. Yeah. A lot of people I feel share similar opinions. I mean, like Soldier Boy, I think it's the most underwhelming thing they could have done with that character. I mean, he's clearly such an adamant character. He's caring in a lot of ways, and then they just don't know what to do with him. And so they just kind of use him to build the universe, which is like funny because they make fun of the whole idea of the MCU and expanding this universe and how there's got to be 50 different shows and films. And then it feels that that's exactly what they're doing in this. It feels that the whole idea they brought in V1 or even the virus and stuff is to just bring him for other shows. Like the virus was kind of just dropped. I mean, like that was like, it took so much screen time with the whole virus, and then it doesn't really end up working out because he gets the V1, and then they obviously it comes back at the end with Huey and Butcher with that whole scene, but we have so much screen time for something that ends up just being resolved through giving Kimiko the Soldier Boy powers in the span of like one episode. One thing I also wanted to touch on, because I've recently watched a lot of, I mean, not like recently, but I've gone through a couple of the seasons of Supernatural. And another big part of their promotion was the idea of them kind of the original actors from Supernatural coming back to this, which I'm also a person who has the opinion that I think they dropped the ball on that. I didn't expect them to do any kind of multiversal travel or have them play Sam and Castiel in it or anything, but it felt like it just feels to me that like the writing team here had their priorities and they had these specific priorities and just didn't know where to align them. Like, the fact that they wanted to bring in that and have them be in the final season, show up all of that, and then have an episode where it just, I hate using this word because it's overused and people, I think, lost the meaning of what it really means, but it for lack of a better word, it just feels like filler. It just feels like just filling screen time to just get to the next big scene that we want to see. And I don't get that because it never felt like that with The Boys. And The Boys is a long episodes, all right, they're long episodes, and it never felt like it was like, God, I'm just sitting through this trying to get to the next big scene. Come on, let's get it. I mean, you know what I mean? But in this season, that is like all it felt like. I was just waiting for the next big scene. I just had to get through the Holy Father. Stop giving me scenes of the Holy Father. I mean, why in the final episode am I getting scenes with him and Ashley? I don't care. Why am I getting scenes of two characters sniffing each other's butt and being like, tuna salad? Yeah, tuna salad this lunch. At lunch, not this, whatever. I don't know. I feel like so many things just felt so, lack of a better word, underwhelming. Anyways, I could yap about this a lot longer. I have a lot of thoughts about The Boys in general, and I love the show, and that's why it is so passionate about it, and what better thing to start my show and movie talk than for something that just absolutely dropped the ball. I think it's very similar to kind of the Stranger Things treatment. I don't really get with this whole writing and directing and all this stuff of, I like to put myself in their shoes and understand, like, I have this universe that is beloved by millions and has such an influence, and now it's the final season with these characters. Why would you not just go like all in, right? I've always had that mentality, and that's what I was going with Stranger Things, and I felt like it was super underwhelming with that. Same with here in The Boys, where it's like, why would you not just go balls to the walls, give us crazy everything? You know what I mean? Like I'm sitting there and I don't get why they even put time into certain characters or scenes where it's like, hey, this is it. All right, we've built this legacy, we've built this show that is a staple now. Let's end with a bang. And then when it comes to your other shows and your spin-offs that are already in development and clearly you care about more, then you can start exploring these other ideas that you wanted to explore. You know what I mean? But like when it comes down to the final season, let's just get everything delivered. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Anyways, I'm yapping. I think a lot of these opinions, unfortunately, are shared, and so that's why it's not too unique. I just wanted to give mine. Another big thing of why I even want to talk about this is because if I'm going to start talking about movies or shows and stuff like that, I want to be able to kind of have a way to list all my stuff and know my ratings and know if I'm a god tier ranker lister or if I'm just a low goon level IGN ranker. You know what I mean? So If I had to give a ranking, let's starting from the day one. All right, our scale is 0 to 10. All right, if I had to give the last season of The Boys, I'm not gonna lie, it's sitting at a good 5. I hate to say it, dude. I really do hate to say that. I enjoyed a lot of things in this season. I had a good time watching it. But when I look at the grand scale of it and I look at the other seasons, I mean, like, can you imagine the Avengers going against Thanos, and then it was just kind of like the final scene was in a small office, and then it was just kind of like Tony and Cap versus Thanos, and they just beat the shit out of him, and that was like it. That was the end. The whole Becca storyline itself was so powerful to me. Like I love the Butcher character, and it just feels so washed when it finally comes down to it. So, anyways, that's pretty much all my thoughts. Stay hydrated. Bye.